We did it, everyone. The final episode of HiJack has lined up their heading and landed the plane as bestest as they could, with some final twists, turns, and reveals to nicely tie up this limited Apple TV Plus series. Honestly, week to week, this was a tense edge of my seat watch that I absolutely loved. So fasten those seatbelts one last time as we break down everything in this final episode. And if you're new here, welcome to JBuck Airlines. Please like and subscribe to stay up to date on all of our latest breakdowns and other videos. Otherwise, thank you so much for clicking this. Sit back and prepare for a rough landing as we get into episode 7 of HiJack. So last week's huge reveal was the quiet woman sitting in first class seemingly gets up, has a gun, pops the pilot Robin, and hijacks the hijackers in some sort of 30,000 feet highway robbery. Like we had theorized, she was a contingency plan put in place by Edgar and John as a last-second smokescreen for the other hijackers. It was true that none of them were told of the others on the plane being somewhat involved, and she is essentially the final part of the plan. But unlike what we had thought, Amanda is not actually related to this organized crime group in any way, but rather in a similar situation as the other hijackers and Neela, with the threat of their family being kidnapped and their lives being threatened. Our sense of disbelief has to be lessened a little bit to fully believe the reach of this cheapside firm, but it's revealed that Amanda worked as an aviation consultant and former member of the Navy, which makes sense on how she was able to flawlessly delete the flight plan, change the heading, essentially fly a commercial airliner like it's nothing, and why she was picked as the last person of this grand plan, revealing that the text message of now from episode 6 was in fact to her. Now, in order to save her daughter, she has to fly the plane until receiving another confirmation message from Edgar, which we'll get into in a little bit. Otherwise, the plane is going to crash into the heart of London. With the other hijackers unaware of Amanda's involvement, it was also revealed that Alec, the businessman who had kind of remained quiet for much of the flight throughout these last 6 episodes, was also part of this elaborate plan. Let's just get into the plan. So essentially, Edgar and John set up a retirement plan for themselves, where they would go and hijack this plane, therefore using the hijacked plane as a bartering chip to get out of prison. While all of this mumbo-jumbo was happening, Alec and Delvin had set up trades via the stock market and then used the reporter Felix to notify news outlets that the flight KA-29 had been hijacked. Now, in doing so, stock prices for the airline and the insurance company covering the airline start to dramatically plummet. But how do they make money off of stocks that are falling?
How?
Well, they essentially shorted the stock. I'm not going to get into the whole financial breakdown of what this means, but they basically bet the opposite way. The more the stock price falls, the more money they receive. Only one of the most elaborate plans ever, because everything had to work perfectly, timing and all. But Alec had been the man to make the initial trade, blackmailed like Amanda, with his partner being kidnapped. So on top of the hijackers, Amanda and Alec had been players in this elaborate game as well. Looking back, there are a couple context clues, both with Alec initially boarding the plane and Amanda having a kind of an initial panic, knowing what she's going to have to do eventually.
Make the trade. Yeah, I've got to go.
They said there's no Wi-Fi.
If there's no Wi-Fi, then why take everyone's phones?
The bulk of this finale is really the shenanigans on the plane, but with some, final loose ends having to be tied up, like Edgar and John had honestly had this planned since the beginning. Obviously, their escape plan was a success, learning that even the roadblock from last week was completely fabricated, as the country bumpkin man is seen with them at the rendezvous point. Their plan is to drive the stock prices down, like we had previously mentioned, but dealing with greedy people breeds greed.
Greed, for lack of a better word, is good.
Well, it's not always good, because Edgar is trying to tick up as much money as possible, like Peter and the others from Office Space, delaying their helicopter escape for another $18 million for every penny drop. Okay, just let the man bank a few dollars, okay? But instead, John and the country boy had a plan of their own, shooting Edgar and leaving the money for themselves. We can only assume that John then escaped with the cash flow, but this double cross is what then spirals the plane into even more madness because, like we had mentioned, Edgar was supposed to send the text message to Amanda to shut the whole thing down, but this is one of the many things in this finale that again throws a monkey wrench into the whole situation. Luckily, Alice, with the help of the other air traffic controllers, is able to get a hold of one of the cell phones on board. We had theorized that this may be what they were trying last week, and sure enough, Alice is able to talk with Sam and get an understanding of what's actually happening on the plane. I really liked these scenes because we've seen Sam at the head of negotiations, but this time Alice feels like she's very much now negotiating with Sam, knowing he's no longer in the driver's seat. Luckily, with the help of Alice and the other cell phones, for example, learning the name of Amanda's daughter, Elodie, Sam is able to enter the cockpit and help with Amanda's manic behavior as Alice talks them through the steps of getting that some beach on the ground. I've heard landing and taking off are two of the most difficult plane maneuvers to do. You actually have to do them besides doing like a barrel roll.
Do a barrel roll!
So with them landing and doing it in a somewhat passable way was a nice surprise. I still think it's pretty baffling, though, that Amanda was allowed to go see her daughter, even though she straight up shot Robin the pilot. I'm assuming she's still gonna have to go to the police and go to jail, but yeah, family apparently comes first in the UK. Kai and the cleaners was another tense situation that I didn't know how it would honestly turn out. We had theorized that Daniel may come into the mix, and this would be the way for Kai to accept him, giving his old mom the old dick down.
Hey, yo!
Which does happen towards the end of this episode, but first the cleaners are able to shake the initial police officers that come to Sam's flat, asking about their emergency call. Okay, I gotta complain a little bit, but Kai knew that there were two cleaners in this place. He saw them back in episode 6, but seemingly just walks out of the closet so the second one can find him. Dumb choice, in my opinion, for a show that has so smartly crafted certain teases and foreshadowing elements, only for this dumb setup to happen. Now, the cleaner's hostage, luckily Daniel picks up on Kai's hint about the bike.
I'm gonna get on my bike, the one I was on this morning. The bike that I was on this morning. I'm gonna ride as fast as I can. I'm coming back home.
Remember back in episode 1, it was a stationary bike he was riding. So thinking on his feet, Daniel pulls the fire alarm system and sets up a SWAT team to apprehend the cleaners and save Kai. So yes, this scene, the ending, show how even 7 hours ago the two were at odds, didn't see eye to eye. Kai is thankful for Daniel, and Daniel and his relationship have kind of become stronger and grown together, I guess. Now, how Daniel got a whole SWAT team set up in a matter of 10 minutes, that is beyond me. Maybe he took a page out of the hit 2002 movie Clock Stoppers.
I don't think time has stopped. I think we're just moving really fast.
Personally, I feel like this entire ending sequence with Sam and Stuart, almost die-hard John McClane and Hans Gruberin, feels unnecessarily tagged on. Sure, maybe Stuart needed his grand old final note and revenge on Sam, but yeah, being tricked by the phone, not getting shot, and the SWAT team moving in like 3 minutes later after it starts, it feels out of place for, a series that was so somewhat grounded. Well, like it took place on a plane, but plausible. But Marcia saving Sam at the end of the day, like still being there for him, ties in with the final credit song of The Dark End of the Street, with the song depicting a relationship that must remain concealed but is riven with guilt and shame, a forbidden love that keeps coming on strong. Also gives this hopeful look at the end of the day that they still love one another, care for one another, honestly, probably one another, or at least that's my fan fiction brain cooking up right now. That's what I'm thinking. In my opinion, HiJack was a brilliant series. It really packed in tense twists and turns and was an engaging enough story that had me eagerly coming back every single week. Idris Elba and everyone involved really made something special, and I liked how, as the story progressed, not only did it expand the story outward, but side characters really had moments to shine, whether it be, a small backstory elements of their character or a takedown of a hijacker that really elevated the episode. The race against the clock, real-time claustrophobic structure worked to HiJack's advantage. Sure, there are some nitpicks with logic here or there, but I think my two biggest bugaboos is that the final episode honestly felt a bit rushed. Like, you feel this urgency on an entirely different level from the previous 6 episodes, while some characters could have also been fleshed out a bit more. Like, what's the deal? I sound like Jerry Seinfeld right now. What's the deal with Jamie and Jaden or even Devlin? Aside from bad character do bad thing, the characters felt a bit flat, and then again, the focus on the show was the plane in general, so I don't know, maybe it wasn't needed. Overall, I'd give HiJack an 8 out of 10. Just like the ending of this series, they stuck the landing, but the plane does have some scratches, and sure, someone probably spilled juice on their nice slacks because of the hard landing. I definitely recommend this series, and heck, a rewatch probably reveals even more small details that play into where things eventually end. So yeah, Apple TV Plus, you've got another great winner on your hands. Anyway, you can finally safely unfasten those seatbelts as the plane has landed, and that is everything for HiJack. A series that, again, I thoroughly enjoyed week to week with big twists, turns, and surprises. But I'm curious, what was your thoughts or what was your favorite part of HiJack? Let us know everything in the comments below. Also, giveaway competitions have started up, as we'll be giving away 2 copies of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 on the 15th of August, and all you gotta do to get a chance of winning this is like this video, make sure to subscribe with the notifications on, and drop a comment below with your thoughts of HiJack overall. All episodes. We'll pick the comments at random on the 15th of next month, and the winners will be featured on screen then. Thank you again for watching through all of this, the first full season of breakdowns we've completed on the channel. So thank you, a big thank you to everyone who stopped by week to week. It is beyond appreciated. We'll be back next week with the start of Season 3 of Only Murders in the Building. Hopefully stay tuned for weekly breakdowns. And if you haven't, please check out all of my other social media accounts for my Shorts and Clips YouTube channel, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, everything. Please and thank you. Otherwise, that is everything I've got for you. Much love. Stay tuned. HiJack was fun. Peace out, dudes.